probably be a little bit better today. But if you want to stick on Instagram, that works too. Just know that it will be cropped a little on those sides. So. Okay, looks like everyone's hearing well, so we'll get started. So like I said, it's week 4 of Your Story Matters. This is a campaign by Rhino that's all about you and your stories, where we take your story from script to screen and along the way, take you with us to show you how to make a short film. And it's not just going to be us. We have industry experts with us each step of the way. Today, we'll actually be just talking with Dru Williams, who's going to be our DP on the shoot. So we're really excited. We'll be building out a shot list live. Now, this whole campaign could not happen without our amazing sponsors. And we have an amazing giveaway today from MZ. If you're not familiar with MZ, I'd suggest going to their website right now. That'll come into play a little bit later on the stream. So their website is mzed.com, and we're giving away a pro subscription. So 12-month subscription to MZ Pro, and they have dozens of amazing instructors that are in the industry and do amazing work and teach you similar things to what we'll be doing, teaching you how to make the most out of your cinematography. And this goes all the way from pre-production through production itself, working with talent, as well as post-production and editing. So fantastic stuff. Check that out. Pull up the site, have it in a tab ready to go for later. At the end of the stream, we'll be doing that giveaway. And no matter what platform you're on, you'll have a chance to win. It's going to be a bit of trivia question, and the first person to answer that question correctly will be the winner. So look forward to doing that later on. Like I said, we're talking today to our DP, Dru Williams. He's actually local to where I'm at. We're based out of Utah. Rhino HQ's in Washington. So we're doing a bit of remote stuff, you know, it's 2020. But Dru actually has this fantastic reel that is a bit of an intro. It's a hybrid reel where it talks about his background and how he got into cinematography. And so we're going to watch the first minute of this, but the whole thing is really great. So look forward in the description, and that we'll have the full video linked there. So check it all out. But without further ado, let me pop over here and we're going to add in this YouTube video. So hopefully the audio will be as good as possible. You know, Zoom's going to do its thing a little bit, so bear with us.
It's truly empowering to have a tool where every decision I make, what lens, movement, color, or timing I use has an emotional effect on the viewer. I've always known what I wanted to do with my life.
Brandon, I think we're actually seeing the interview questions notes, not the video screen.
Sorry, my bad, guys. Let me hop over here. Let's pop into this. I don't know why that popped that up, so we'll get back over here and start that again. My apologies. Here we go.
It's truly empowering to have a tool where every decision I make, what lens, movement, color, or timing I use has an emotional effect on the viewer. I've always known what I wanted to do with my life. There was never a question. When my grandfather wasn't taking my brother and I to the movies, he was filming us do what we do best. Being magicians, karate experts, and beating each other up. Not only was he an expert at building and repairing cameras at RCA, he was also an expert at moving the line around. Oh, thank you. It was at that point when I first picked up the camera and started making films for myself. Now, let's fast forward a bit. I established 43 Productions in 2012 with the intention of doing what I love for a living. Now, I've worked with some of the biggest names in the outdoor, tech, and music industry. I'm Dru Williams, and I'm a cinematographer.
All right. Well, that's a great intro for Dru. Dru, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to start as a cinematographer?
How's it going, Brandon? Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm super stoked to be here. Long story, but that was a good introduction on how it really got started and seeing that archive footage there. It started at a really young age for me. I just my grandpa had the cameras laying around the house, like I said, and I was able to actually pick those up and physically use them and see what it was all about. I could tell a story at a very young age. A lot of times we don't get that opportunity at a young age because we're borrowing cameras, or it was just cool because he worked there. He built these cameras, so he always had the coolest one. I didn't feel bad if I dropped it because there was a good chance he could just get another one. So I knew right off the bat, as he documented my brother and I, that there was something special there, and I love capturing a moment and telling a story. Fast forward to 2012, after a bachelor's degree in telecommunications, and now I am here in Utah. It's 2020, and I established my business about 8 years ago in 2012, like I said, and it's been nonstop ever since, man. Anything from working with the North Face and working with other clients in Salt Lake City, getting hired out as a DP for this Your Story Matters campaign. I kind of wear a lot of hats, so it's been a crazy ride. I'm super stoked to be here.
Yeah, super happy to have you. We're so excited that things lined up to be able to have you on this shoot. It'll be fun working together with you and building out the shot list today. So I want to talk a little bit more about how you got your start doing a business, because I'm sure many of the people watching either have a business and want to learn more or would like to get into doing that. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's always scary. Like, you're as a creator, you're like, am I a good business owner? There's a hard line there of can you do both? Or you might not even realize that as you're making your business, you don't think about the business aspects of the business. You think about, hey, I want to go out and create, I want to get money, and then on to the next project, right? And you learn as you go. I will say the best practice I ever got for production was working for other companies or other people and getting my hands on and just getting that firsthand experience. And again, you don't realize until, like, I went to school for 4 years. I didn't learn. I mean, I learned, but I did not learn anything compared to just the first shoot or the second shoot. So what I did was I would work for these companies. I worked for backcountry.com. They're based out of Salt Lake City, big outdoor brand. I got to work with some amazing brands through them. And I learned so much from them. And I applied my contacts that I had met through the snowboard industry on my end. And then I moved into, this area where, okay, let's do some music videos. Okay, cool. Music videos seem pretty easy. That's great. Oh, by the way, on your free time when you're doing music videos, we're going to lay you off here at Backcountry because our marketing is getting cut in half. Cool. Awesome. That's a good feeling, getting laid off from a job you just, invested so much of your time into. I got another job eventually 3 years later. I was working in a rental house here called Redmond Movies and Stories. There was a lot of really big productions that came through. I got to be on set for those, which is really amazing, an amazing experience. Again, learning as I go, taking these, layoffs as learning experiences. Well, guess what? Redmond started getting a little bit slow. One of the series from HBO shut down that they fund a lot of money towards. They bought some new equipment, and I got laid off again. So this happened 3 times in a row. So I'm getting laid off, but I'm using these as learning experiences. So to answer your question, and like around, just wrapping it up, it starts with experience. It starts from learning from your mistakes, which sounds so cliche, like it really does, but it really is how you learn to do what you want to do. And as a business owner, I've learned that I'm a better DP than I am a writer, or I'm a better DP than I'm an editor. And you find that out along the way. You really kind of start niching in, even though you're this business owner and you're kind of wearing all these hats, you start niching in as you work with bigger productions to what you actually want to do. And here we are. It's been good ever since. Now I get hired out as a DP on the side, along with just doing my own business. So yeah.
That's excellent. Well, congrats on doing that and taking control of what you can. I mean, we're all involved in this crazy, like I mentioned earlier, the 2020 world that we live in. But you have that ability to pivot and do. Some of you are asking questions here around that sponsor again. And this goes back into what Drew's been talking about, that as much as learning things is great, it's really all about doing. And so our sponsor this week, they'd say the same thing, MZ. That website is mzed.com. And these people will have great advice, these filmmakers. Some of them are Hollywood producers and filmmakers. And so there's just such a depth and breadth to everything that's there. And it's great to take all that content in then it's about applying it. And so today we'll be doing that. We'll be applying and prepping for this production. So I want to show one more piece of work, because one thing that Drew has done as well, and in his free time, right, is make these passion projects as well. And I think that as a filmmaker, it's important as much as possible to push that creative edge so that you can better understand what you like as a filmmaker, as well as just continually grow your network and stretch your skill set. And so this is a film, and actually, Drew, how about you do a little bit of an intro? The film's called Paper Cutter.
Yeah, so Paper Cutter is a film that my buddy Aaron Colborn wrote and directed. He had this idea, and I've done a lot of films with him before, and he's very moody, and he knows what he wants, but in a good way, in a storytelling way, not as an on-set way. He's fabulous on set. So he does a great job. So what he did was he wrote this story out, and I don't want to give too much away. I want you guys to go and watch it, but we are going to watch an ending piece here, and it's running through just an adrenaline train of emotions, right? He's thinking of a lot of different things that happened in his life. It's lit differently. It's consistently lit different. We did that on purpose. It's a really cool scene. It's my favorite scene of the movie. If you could pause it every time it went to a new scene, I could tell you why we lit it that way and how we lit it. And it really is one of my favorite parts of the film. So I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I want you to go and watch it, but let's check this piece out.
Perfect. Here we go right now. Okay. Well, amazing work. If you couldn't hear that super well, we are going to have these links up, and we'd love for you to go out and watch the full piece and, give shout outs to Drew and all that were involved in that. So look forward to that. But that's at least visually, you can get a bit of a feel of that production. So really excited on that note that the lead of that film, Paper Cutter, will actually be the lead of our film. The character's name is Owen, and our project, if you haven't heard, is called Grounded. It's a film about connecting with others through space. And so there's going to be a lot of astrophotography and different things that we'll be doing, as well as, we have some dramatic background to this Owen character, which, as you can see, Dele will do a great job of. So we're looking forward to that. Talking about, prepping for a shoot, what elements do you use, Drew, to help get you, ready and on the same page with your crew for what you're doing in terms of a shot list?
Yeah, so we're at this point, we've done a lot of pre-production. You've location scouted with Devin Graham. You talked about building the story. And so we know all of those things, right? So we're very familiar with the story as a whole. So now we should just concentrate on visuals and how to tell the story the best, working with the director, that being you. So next, you and I will go through a shot list, and we have a grounded shot list template that we've made, and it's super slick. We've got the field of view, we've got shot style, rigging, camera, lens, frame rate, codec. I want to back up though from this, because you can see I've already got one already in here. So with the shot list, there are many factors. I mean, we already know our budget, right? Again, we have a lot of questions already answered. So these are questions that might come up within the shot list in the prep period, but there's still things that we have to reference. You know, what are we shooting this thing on? We already know what we're shooting this thing on. Brandon, would you like to, just side note real quick, would you like to do the honorary camera unboxing showing thingy?
Oh, do you mean
that?
This little camera? And I mean little?
It is little.
So
That
we haven't talked too much about this yet, and I want to just hop in just a little bit. This is the red Stormtrooper. It's the Komodo, but the Stormtrooper version. So we're really excited to be using this camera. It's still technically in beta, but Red has hundreds of these out in the wild now, and we were able to finally, it took a long time, get our hands on it. And so I've waited all week very, very patiently for you guys to do this one special thing here. It's now ready to use. So thanks for being a part of that with us. And without any further ado, we can hop into shot listing. So Drew, do you want me to pull up the script first, or just hop right into the shot list?
Well, we saw the shot list a little bit briefly. Let's go into the script, and we'll show how we kind of, you know, transcribed from a script onto a shot list and kind of go over those things. This is kind of a live working session, guys. This isn't something that we've planned this, obviously, but this is just the process of how this works. So if you guys have questions in the meantime, please ask, because this might feel some sort of normal for us, and we might skip something. So, but we'll do our best to try to explain everything. So, all right, we have a internal morning shot. So the morning sun beams through the shades of a small, minimally furnished one-bedroom apartment home to Owen Jackson. He's in his mid-20s. The bedroom is barely big enough for Owen's bed. The bathroom is more like a closet. The kitchen is like a narrow alleyway. A small table with 2 chairs sits at the end of the kitchen with a small window overlooking the city. Okay, so right now, this is our description. Right off the bat, what the director is, or the writer, is trying to pursue, or trying to tell us, is this place is small. We need to do whatever we can to make this place feel smaller, or the character feel trapped, right? And that is kind of going to be the theme of this apartment. So the first thing in my mind, what I do before I even think about camera is, what does this place look like? So you guys talked about location scouting last week with, or I think it was last week with Devin Graham. You guys, you decided on a spot, Brandon, that was a really cool listing that I think we got. So we know what it looks like. We have pictures on a mood board of what this place looks like, actual photos of the space. So now we can kind of look at, okay, are the walls white? Are there stuff that we have to move? What are some of the hiccups that we might run into? Then I'm going to look at the shot list. So great example here of the home. And so we see this big open space. It's about 2 pictures of the same living room. We get 2 different angles there. We get a bedroom, we get a kitchen. I know, Brandon, you and I were talking yesterday a little bit when we were prepping, just like and I don't want to jump too far ahead in the script, but there's certain scenes just from like looking at that cubby in the kitchen. We know we could do something right there that would make sense, that would feel natural. So getting a space and getting a sense of the space, I should say, is extremely important. So now we know what the home or the apartment looks like. Let's go back to the shot list. So cool. So first shot, again, it's really explaining this place and his apartment and how kind of small and cramped it is. Let me pull up my script again, and then so we need to find a good way to capture this. These are the first shots of the short film. So you want these to be super captivating and super unique. All right, so let's start off by maybe doing like a dolly push in for this first shot showing the sun beaming through. Maybe we'll add some atmosphere to show the harsh lights and the sunbeams coming through the window. Okay, so that's not going to be on here if we need smoke machine. That's going to be for props and grip and things like that for on our other list. So that would be put somewhere else. So the shot is going to be a low angle. And granted, guys, this can change. This is the beauty of this whole thing is we are going to make this now. We might get into that space and something might not be realistic. So something might actually change. So let's do like a low angle dolly push in. And I have a great idea of what dolly we'll be using for that. So obviously the location is the home. We have that listed. Time of actual day, not sure yet. We can get back to that. That's the beauty of this whole thing is it's always in working mode. So just because you can't fill out something now, you can fill it out later. The talent we know is our main actor, Dele. Or we can, sometimes you'll put the talent name in there. If it says character, you'll put the character name in there. Field of view. Let's make this, let's go wide. Let's get a sense of the entire place out of the first shot. Because when you have a wider lens, obviously we can see more. And with zero distortion from that Laowa lens that we'll be using from one of our sponsors, I think that'll be a very nice way to start the short off and showing where he lives. This is a push in, so I can go back and dolly push in. This is a, let's do low angle here. Actually for the shot, we can just do what it actually is. So that's my bad. Let's do sunbeam. And then filter, we'll probably need a filter in there if we're shooting sun. It's really going to depend on how lit the room is. I'm not going to fill that out yet because I'm not going to, if my AC comes with a filter on the camera lens and we don't need it, then we've wasted time, right? So I'll make that call on set when I'm there. Lighting setup. Well, this is natural light. We don't, maybe besides a little bit of fill around the window, we want to keep this place kind of dim and not, I want to say the word dingy, but it's not necessarily dingy, but it's just very small and confined. So we don't want it to breathe and be open and airy, right? Kind of make it tight and stuffy, kind of like it is in here. If you can see me sweating, it's 81 in my studio. So always get AC for your studios. Let's just do a single source just to fill in around the window frame, and then yeah, let's do that with that 300D. That should be plenty of light. Modifier, let's make it soft because think about this. We have harsh beams of light coming through the window, and maybe that atmosphere is going to really make that line more harsh. Let's make that fill light as soft as possible because we don't want to contradict the sharp light with the light coming in that we're showing. So there's shot one. When I say talent here, I guess again I'm going back and changing this. I want to say now I want to put the window. So again, it's always being changed. This is just a B-roll filler shot. So that's shot one, and then we have a lot more to cover now. So we can go into, we're still in scene one, and let's go back to our description. So we'll go back now. We've got our first shot, and you might say, well, we want 2 angles of that. Well, I don't think we do because we're going to go straight into the minimally furnished 1-bedroom apartment. Okay, the wide shot probably showed a little bit of furniture. We got the light peering through. Let's go straight to the bedroom now, and let's not waste any more time, and let's see how small that bedroom is. So again, kind of the same thing. We're gonna this process just continues for everything, and we'll skip down here in a little bit, but I want to talk about the difference between like the description versus what the character's doing, because the example in Paper Cutter that we showed with the flashbacks, when he was running out of the building, and then at the end when he was hugging the gentleman, that was all like current new glass, right? Lenses, if you're not familiar with that term. And then for all the flashback stuff, we used an old set of Canon primes, very old. They were like vintage. And I wanted that contrast between current situation. I wanted it to look different than going back in time. So we used, vintage lenses. The point of that is the things will always change, and we'll always be jumping around. So if for some reason we get to the point where we're doing astrophotography, we might switch cameras completely because we're taking photos now and we can't take photos on the Komodo. So there's just all these factors that come in, and it's constantly evolving. So if you're sitting down with your shot list and you want to run through it all and get every line filled in, I'm probably going to stop you and say that's maybe not the best practice. Jump around, see what works best. You're going to go back and change things because you're going to feel like you have that shot too many times. You might have felt like you've lit the scene that way too many times. And that's just you maybe a little bit in your own head. So yeah, what else, Brandon? I mean, we can jump around on this thing a little bit. We can keep filling it in. What are you thinking?
So I'm thinking that, like, you know, much like you've talked about with Paper Cutter, there was a mood, right, in that film. And there's definitely a fluctuating mood in this piece where we start off and we meet Owen sort of at present day. And then we do have some opportunities to do more flashbacks. You get a little bit more backstory about him and about what he's going through. And so the lighting, we want to reflect that as well. So while the pictures that we just showed in the mood board are very bright, because we're actually getting one of my favorite ways to location scout, and this is to do it with the owner's approval. But I look through Airbnbs because, one, they have great pictures of them. I at least know what that space looks like. Two, I know it's rentable. And then the third checklist item is I'll just verify with the owner, hey, we are using this for a video shoot. So sometimes they request additional money and you just work with them. Oftentimes they are pretty flexible. And so we went through a ton of different listings. And so we're going to be able to use this as sort of a canvas. And even this is something like we talked about last week. Scripts often will have some pretty good notes as to what your locations could or should look like. But then there's the reality of what you can actually find. And so we've made a couple pivots since to use, instead of doing a separate apartment and home for where Owen's father lives in the flashbacks, we're merging that into one, and we'll be using this. So while in the beginning he's in that kind of dark place, we're going to actually pull down the light quite a bit, like Drew's saying, and rely more on the natural light, like that where they're at is dark and everything coming in. So that's the beginning mood. I'd love to hop to what maybe some of those other things could look like, and perhaps either some happier moments or other moments of the film to how we could adjust that lighting. So what's happening in this piece, just by way of quick background, we're using this letter from Owen's father, who's recently deceased, as this voiceover narrative throughout the piece. Now, we do actually see him both writing the letter at different points in the home as he's being assisted by some hospice care. And so I want to hop to one of those scenes. And so let's get down here to where morning. Okay, so this, and actually maybe we can hop here. This is the first shift where we actually get hearing about that letter where it's introduced. And so there's some pretty thematic things going on here. So we want to talk about, what's the shot look like? We have some camera direction. Camera with wide lens sits on shelf. So Owen's reaching in and grabbing out an old file storage box. Let's break that down, and then we'll hop more into the scene of the dad here in just a sec. Does that work, Drew?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. Let me pull that section up. I was looking at your screen. So is that on page 4? Yes. So camera with wide lens sets on shelf in closet. So this is something else I want to talk about. I didn't discuss this right when we started off, but Brandon is the director of this thing, and he already has ideas in his head, right, of what he wants. So he's, you know, when he's typing out the script, he's saying, okay, camera wide lens and shelf, and this can always be changed and altered, but it's important that you work with the director and not against. I know that sounds so cliche, like why would you work against someone that you want to work with? But it's really important that you guys meet eye to eye on these things, because he has a vision, you have a vision. How can you just make the vision best in general? Not for me, not for him, but together. And what can you do to tell the story the best is really the goal. And if he has an idea that you don't agree with, compromise. He can tell you why, then you could explain why maybe another idea might work. So now jumping into this. So camera with wide lens sets on shelf in closet. So Brandon, you had this idea of the camera just sitting there static and maybe leaving some room around him as he's digging through, right, to make him maybe feel a little bit smaller. We've got the radio going in the background, so we got some white noise going on. and then it talks. So let's set this down. I'm just going to put in below. I'm not sure right off the bat what scene that is, and I don't want to waste a ton of time, but I'm going to just put 4 because it's on page 4, and we will go back and change that, and not $4. Let's see here. Okay. So this would be Owen is in the shot. The location again is at home. Sorry, I always do shot with talent there. So this is a static shot. It literally says it's setting on a shelf. So we know that there's no movement. Now, will it actually be setting on a shelf? I don't know. We might put it on a tripod next to the shelf. We're going to see what fits best. I think the point of this shot is to make him feel like he's going into somewhere enclosed and small, and he's going to bring something out that means a lot. So what can we do during this whole time of him kind of in this depressive state? What can we do to make him feel small? It's really easy. I mean, this is actually something that you would learn in film school, believe it or not. You shoot down, right? Think about if you had a bully at school and they came up to you and you looked up to them. Very intimidating. Think about when you look down at someone. They're very intimidated, right? So let's do that with our camera movements. Again, it might sound kind of cliche, but that's a really easy way for us to kind of approach that and kind of get into his head and his space. A lot of paper cutter was composition. Now, for me, composition is huge. You'll see Dele in paper cutter. He's freaking out in the meeting. He's ticking a little bit. He's got all these nervous twitches. He's got 2 big lights on both sides of him that are about 20 feet back that are out of focus. And he's just stuck in the middle. And he's just this dark bulb of just energy that is just not good. Little things like composition, little things like camera angles, these little things go so far, and we don't even realize it. You watched a movie or a TV show yesterday or the day before that had it in it, and you didn't even realize what it was doing. So I think I guess the point of that is something static. I like to put an angle on it. Let's go up, let's go down. Let's really get into that main character's head. So this is Owen. Again, I'm not sure on the time. So shot style will be static. Rigging, I think, will just probably be tripod. Let's just for static's sake. I put push in, and I never put dolly up top, so I apologize. So I'm going back to scene 1 to put dolly in on the drop-down menu. And Brandon, we talked about codec a little bit. As a director, what do you want to see as far as the codec goes and why? And then I can kind of tell you my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, any tool that you're using, I'd like to use the highest quality tool that you can. And so whatever that is that you can get your hands on. In our case, we're going to be shooting this on the Komodo, and that currently in its beta form has 2 different codecs in the raw medium. And so that's forget what it's called, the R2D HQ or the MQ. Personally, I would lean towards the HQ just because you're getting a little bit less compression in that, and we'll have more latitude in post. Now, that has its downsides, which Drew, do you want to talk about some of those downsides of using a heavier codec?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are all things that you want to think about in the pre-production process, but it might not give you a headache until later in the editing room, and your editor will love you for this. So, dealing with different codecs, we get larger and smaller file sizes. Larger file size, granted, normally, it's going to be the better quality image, and smaller being less good quality. Everything looks fine. On a phone, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. But for what we're going to do, and since we're making a short, we want this to obviously to be the best quality. So we're going to jeopardize some space, because I think you told me yesterday, Brandon, in our pre-production meeting, that you have up to 10 terabytes.
Yeah, so
that we can offload on. Yeah.
Yeah. For the DIT, we'll have about 10 terabytes that we can get footage off to. That's separated into 2 drives. At least that we'll have. We may even bring a 3rd redundant one. And then we've got 4 separate cards that we can basically use in tandem and just sort of daisy chain that to go from one to the next and be offloading and recording basically all throughout the day. So that's what we'll be doing. I have a couple questions coming in here that I want to address real quick.
Sure.
some are asking about what screen writing tool we're using. I've used Writer's Duet over a couple years. This isn't sponsored by any means, but the reason I like using them is because it's really easy to share with other people. This project has been very collaborative by nature. And so we've been sharing out links, and I can actually see, I have a whole list of different people that have been on here and been working it. And then, they can put notes, I can hop to different scenes, and I can see, the comments that they've made. And then it's got a lot of built-in tools that are typically used to build out a script. So Writer's Duet, check that out. Pricing's, they do have a free version. You're limited on how many people you can share certain things with without going to a paid, but even in the paid subscription, it's not too bad. Other note, on these tools that we're using here for the shot list, these are all available on yourstorymatters.rhinocameragear.com under the resources section. We have several different templates that we built out, and you can basically access these Google tools, make a copy for yourself, and use them on your productions. This will help streamline a lot of things for you. And even in this section, and again, if you're watching this on Instagram, this is all going to be cropped a bit. So if you want a full view of what we're looking at, hop onto YouTube or Facebook. But hopping over here, I have pre-built all the lenses that we have access to that we'll be using on the shoot, the different codecs that we have within, the cameras that we have access to. So then it makes it easy when building this out. We can quickly just select things or make changes on the fly and not typing each form or each row each time. So.
Yeah, Brandon, I also want to point out to the viewers, like, this seems like a lot of work now. It was awesome that you built out that template for everyone. I would highly suggest going to download that. This is so much easier now than it will be on the day of shooting. I know a lot of people like to just go into shoots and run and gun, which is cool for certain things, and I know that works. But with the crew that we're working with and the time that we're given to shoot this thing based on how many runtime minutes we're going to end up with, it's very, very important to be organized and do this the correct way. Because again, it seems like a lot of work now, but it's your Bible when you're on set. So it really is important.
Okay, so let's hop through one last scene, and then we will we'll kind of wrap this up for today, but you can get an idea of where this is going. So hopping through the script here, out of that box that we get off that shelf in the closet, we get this letter from Terrence, Owen's dad, and we see Owen sitting on his bed reading this, which we'll build out those shots here later. But right now, we are cut back to, we have a time here. It's in that same home, November 1st. Coincidentally, as an Easter egg, this is actually the day before the father passes, that he's writing this sort of letter of advice to his son. And so much different mood, right? Somebody that's at the end of their life writing to their posterity. So how do you approach this scene, Drew, with Terrence as he's writing this letter as he's in bed?
Yeah, so kind of a heart-wrenching scene, right? Like, we're gonna evoke a lot of emotion here. This one's gonna pull at the heartstrings. So probably never have you watched a show where there's a scene like this and it's very bright and airy and loving. And I know we've mentioned that a couple times now in the stream, but yeah, this is something that we're going to want to keep pretty dim. We're going to want to focus really hard on the letter that he's writing. I have this idea of a really cool shot, and then we'll plug it in here, of when he's writing, because it's going to be kind of a montage of a couple shots here, maybe close up of pen, rack focus across the lines, like super low on the table. And one I want to do is use the Arc 2 system from Rhino, and I want to suspend it over top of him. I want to point straight down, and I want to kind of go OTS, over the shoulder. OTS is a term we use for a camera angle. You might see that in the drop down as well. I want to get that on far left or far right, and I want to angle it, and I want to pan with it and just go over top. So it's just this very nice, like, kind of timeless piece that we can refer back to. It might be a 10-second clip, a 15-second clip with the whole movement, but it's a nice reference piece that we can always go back to if we're cutting to that letter being written. Obviously mixed in with some close-ups and things like that, but I just think it's a nice display of movement with the pen flow. Also would probably spotlight the paper with a soft light. You think of someone like writing at a desk. You think of like candlelight or something like kind of old school. Maybe something warm. So this is kind of a sad part. So let's maybe put our lights at 32K, make it nice and warm, soft, spotty on that letter. Just evoke a mood. That's really what we're trying to do with a short. Is you're trying to pull all the moods you can in a certain amount of time. So we're going to try to do that.
Okay, perfect. That's all awesome. I'm really excited, as from the director's spot, hearing some of these thoughts that goes right in line. And I love working in a collaboration where you're a right fit when somebody takes an idea and like they add that next 10, 15, 20% to it and make it just that much better. And that's what collaboration is really all about. So I'm going to put Drew to some work here while he's working on this shot list. I'm going to run through a couple more logistics as he talks about those things. So one more time, our sponsor for today was MZ Pro. So their website is mzed.com. Hop on that website right now, and we're going to have a question here in just a minute, but I want to run through just what's going to be happening, because we actually start production on this shoot for Grounded next week. So we have a lot of things leading up to that, and I want you guys to be involved with it because we have a ton of giveaways. It's going to be a lot of fun. So looking at this schedule, what we've got going. So next week, Tuesday, it's the 1st of September. I can't believe it's already going to be September. But on that day, at that typical start time at 3:30 Central Time, we're going to be talking with another DP, Tom Antos. He does a lot of different things on YouTube and other online platforms. So I'm sure many of you have heard about Tom. He is amazing at building out camera rigs. And so he's going to run through a handful of different camera rig options to help us as we prepare for our shoot. So be sure to be there for that. And then right after that, so an hour later, 4:30 Central Time, we are going to be talking about the lenses and the filtration systems that we'll be using on this production. So we have giveaways from both Laowa. We have 10 amazing like swag bags that they put together, which include a lot of fun things. We'll talk more about it on that stream. And Polar Pro is actually giving away their Basecamp matte box. It's a really great all-in-one system, custom filter trays and everything for their filters, and really neat system. So check that out. We'll be giving away one of those. That's an amazing giveaway from Polar Pro. Then 2 days later, as we're preparing for the shoot on Friday, we will actually have 3 streams back to back. So, it's one of those things, if you want to just pull it up, have it there as you work, we'll be giving a lot of great advice along the way. So from Aperture, we have Valentina V, who will be talking to us more about lighting. We're going to be using primarily Aperture lights on this shoot. We have the 300D Mark II, the 120D Mark II, as well as their brand new 4-pack, the MC Travel Kit, which is a really cool idea. It's these 4 small lights, LED or RGB lights that come in one case, and you actually charge all 4 lights through the case. So really neat. You can combine those lights together. They have an app that can connect them all, or we can use them all separately. They actually have magnets built in, so we can attach them wherever we need to as well. So that'll be fun and convenient. We're doing a lot of car mounted things, so being able to just slap it inside of a car will be awesome. And then after that stream at 3:30 Central Time again, we're going to be talking about camera movement. So just like Drew mentioned with using the Rhino Arc II in some of these shots, we'll be talking about some other gear that we'll be using as well. And we have an awesome giveaway from Moza. They're a gimbal company, and it's going to be the Moza Aircross 2. So check that out. And all of this information is again going to be on yourstorymatters.rhinocameragear.com. So check that out. And we have a whole page dedicated to the sponsors and what we'll be both using on the shoot, as well as what they're giving away. And then to conclude the streaming sessions on that Thursday, that's September 3rd, we're going to be talking to our friends at Rode. They're going to talk to us about the different mics that we'll be using on the shoot and how to get the most out of them. And so that'll be really fun as well. And then Friday, because we want you with us all week, you'll be able to join us actually live on set. So we'll be streaming throughout the day, and you can see Drew in action as we work to get these shots that we're actually building out right now. So these first shots, we're doing all the interiors will be filmed a week from this Friday on September 4th. So we're really looking forward to all those things. Now, I just mentioned a lot of things. All that's on the schedule on that same website, yourstorymatters.rhinocameragear.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us so that you can stay current on all of these projects and much, much more. How's that shot list looking, Drew?
I think it's looking good. We're starting to shape up. Obviously, a lot of work to still do, but I wanted to break down kind of these three different scenes. They're in the location of the home, all of them, but they are fairly different, right? So, I wanted to ask you really quick, Brandon, since you know about the specific set of lenses a little bit better than I do at this point. Are these Rokinones current? Are these Canons current? Or are they vintage?
So they're photo lenses that have been converted in the cinema housing.
Okay.
And so they're their most current version of those lenses. They are a bit soft wide open, so it'll give you more of that vintage feel.
Cool.
One of the reasons that we're using this set of lenses is we wanted something that felt really accessible. Rokinons are a great value for the price. You get your standard cinema gearing, you get a longer range throw. I believe it's 180-degree throw on those lenses. All of the focus gears are lined up, so lens swapping is a lot easier. Going with primes is nice just because you do get that lower aperture. In this case, because they're cinema lens, it's going to be T stops versus F stops. So we'll get more light, especially as we're outside at night. Light can always be a struggle to get. And so having a lens that can go pretty wide open, I should say, is helpful. So we'll be using that in conjunction with this Laowa 12mm lens. So if you haven't heard of Laowa, so there are lenses that are made by Venus Optics. Check them out because I'm sure many of you have heard about their probe lens, which has gotten a lot of publicity. It's that really long, narrow lens that can do some amazing macro shots, especially as it shoots through things. It gives a really unique perspective. This lens is sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's super wide, but it solves one of the major problems that wide angle lenses come up against, and that's distortion. Normally a wide angle lens bows your edges and kind of fish eyes. Sometimes stylistically that can be something you're going for. In our case, we want it to feel more like a box that he's in. And so you want those vertical lines to kind of create that box feel. And this lens will be perfect for that. So
yeah, I'm excited to use the 12mm without that distortion. I think that'll be really cool. And the reason really quick that I brought up the Canons versus the Rokis is because this is essentially a flashback scene. So I kind of want to utilize what I did in Paper Cutter and just make that seem a little bit different. It needs to have a different look compared to what we shoot in the current time. Obviously, you could do that in post. You could fix it in post, right? But I think this is a very natural approach, and it'll come off authentic. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to getting the rest of this built out, and we'll keep you posted. We may very well actually post a view-only version of this on that same website, on yourstorymatters.rhino-camera-gear, just so you can see more of our process. We really want you involved in this. And so before we head out, as promised, we have a giveaway. So I have a question for you, and that is on MZ's courses for that pro subscription, how many different instructors are a part of that program, part of that subscription? So the first person on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube to message the correct number of instructors. In some cases, the instructor is a group, but it will only be listed as one thing. Somebody lists that number and we'll get a winner selected. In that meantime, as we're finding out that answer, Drew, I know you've got another special project that you're working on with Rhino as well. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started a podcast at the start of this year called Take 43. We talk about production, the workflows. We have guests on that you might have heard of before, YouTubers, filmmakers, almost like hair and makeup for professional sets. We have all kinds of creators coming on, and the goal is to just educate and spread the word about what we're doing and how we can make it better and just how to speed up the workflow process. And honestly, just chat, because we chat about this stuff daily anyways. We might as well record it. So we did season 1 from January to June. And after June, Rhino hit me up and asked if we wanted to do a collaboration. And I said, absolutely. So season 2 is presented by Rhino, and it is the Take 43 podcast. It's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, available on like 8 other platforms that I've never heard of too, like Overcast and Google Podcast and everything. So please hop on Apple, hop on Spotify, check out the Take 43 podcast. If you can't listen to it now, give it a follow or get, like, set a reminder, do something to where you can listen to it. Our goal again is just to help educate creators and kind of do like behind the scenes access and get the story of other creators and how they got to where they are. So we're not perfect people and we don't know everything, but we will help you as much as we can. So that's kind of the goal. So check it out, Take 43 podcast.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to listening to that. And it looks like we do have a winner. It was really, really close, but a user from YouTube. Let's see here. ANFINO and Mo Fisher. Sorry. Let me spell that out again. You know, YouTube username. So ANFINOMOFISHER. So if you want to email us, we'll get you linked up with the guys at MZ and they will be able to get you that free subscription. So just send us an email. You can email me personally. My email is bpeterson, SEN on Peterson, at rhinocameragear.com or rhinocg.com, and we'll take care of you. So,
hey, Brandon.
Yeah.
I had a question come in. Do you mind if I quickly answer that really quick before we hop off?
Absolutely.
Someone asked, with my background, what's the easiest way to get that initial job when you have very little formal experience? It comes down to just doing, and whether that means for free, go on set with someone who has experience and just tell them you're going to be an assistant and just say, you know what, for a couple hours, you don't have to pay me because your time is valuable at that point. And then what's going to happen is you're going to acquire that knowledge, and then your knowledge is going to be worth money. So you're gonna have to put in some time if you don't have any formal experience. YouTube is a great resource. I didn't have YouTube. YouTube was not what it is now when I was in college. So I would highly recommend utilizing that source. So just get out there and do, and you know, get your hands dirty for free, and the money will come around. Don't think about money. This is the dream job for most people. So just smile while you do it. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Drew, so happy to have you on here today, and thank you for your talent and being a part of this project. And congrats again to the winner and thank you to our sponsor MZ. And if you guys, even if you didn't win, please check it out. It's a great resource. And like Drew was saying, that's a great way that you can learn more about this craft and be prepared. Go get yourself out on sets, go and do some shooting and have some fun, create some stories. And we'll see you next Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So don't miss it. And we'll see you there. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, guys. Talk soon.